Hi friends, it's Heather with Running with Scissors, and today we are working on the February 2024 box. That's box number 40. And you saw in the opening what you're making, so let's get started and see what's in the box. All right, so as always, you'll have a set of instructions, and once again, as always, mine are kind of just thrown together to get us started, and I will fix all of these after I do the tutorial. So you'll have your full set of instructions. Now with that instructions, you're also going to have a last sheet, which is going to be a pattern sheet. So you will have a pattern sheet and you'll have to cut those out. And you are going to have a goodie box or a goodie bag with all kinds of supplies in it. You're going to have some buttons in your bag, along with your jute, your glue, and your painting supplies. And then there'll also be some ribbons and some zip ties in a bag. Mine are just sitting inside my box for now. And I'm going to set that stuff aside. Now the paint that we're using is, the larger container is the bluish green color, and that's called Beachside Drive. And then we have two small containers, one of Palest Pink and one of our brand new color, Vanilla Ice Cream. And then of course you're going to have several sheets of felt because we are making felt flowers, as you saw. One of my favorite things to do. And then you have your wood pieces. Now to get started, you're going to want to make sure that you have a pair of sharp scissors. I like to use these when I'm snipping my felt. So if you have a small pair of very sharp pointy scissors, these will be very handy. Some baby wipes. We're going to use a hot glue gun. I have my battery operated hot glue gun here, but one that you plug in works great as well. And I also have a pair of regular scissors. And I believe that's all we need for this kit here. So, now if your scalloped top here has some of these circles left in it, just pop those out. We're not going to be using those. And mine has a couple hanger holes that need to be popped out. So just pop those out and discard them. You will not need them. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to paint our backer board. I'm going to paint the backer board using the soft side of the yellow sponge, and I'm going to paint that with that blue-green color. That's called that Beachside Drive. I wanted this sign to be very light and springy with pale colors that could go for Easter or just spring. So I'm going to put a thin coat of paint on my backer board here, and I'm just using the soft side of my yellow sponge. And you can see I just dumped that right on my backer board in the center, and I'm moving that paint around very quickly and just getting a nice thin coat of paint on my sign. I'm actually going to need a little bit more to finish out that first coat. Make sure you don't have any bumper lines of paint from your sponge. Just smooth that paint all out. Nice thin coat. This will take about 3 or 4 minutes to dry. So I'm going to set that aside. And while it dries, I'm going to work on my other two pieces here. I have the word hello. And once again, I had a piece of wood in the middle there that I just had to pop out. And then we have the scallop border. Now you could paint these whatever color you want. I'm going to paint the scallop border. Oh, I think I'm going to paint that the Vanilla Ice Cream color. And I'm going to paint the word pink. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to reverse that. Am I going to reverse that? Do I know what I'm going to do? Let's see. I'm going to paint the scalloped border pink, and the word the vanilla ice cream. Clearly, you guys can do whatever you want to do. I am just pouncing on a quick thin coat of paint onto the scallop border. Make sure you don't have any globs of paint there. If you do, swipe them up real quick. All right, that's the first coat there. And then I'm also going to do my second coat of paint, or my first coat on my word. And I guess my word is going to be that vanilla ice cream color. Now it looks like vanilla ice cream is probably going to take 3 coats to cover, but that's all right. All right, so there's my first coat on my word. I'm going to bring my backer board back, and I'm going to put the second coat on that. Okay, so that's the second coat on my backer board, and we're just going to set that aside to dry. And then we're going to put another coat of paint on each of these. I believe this hello is going to need 3 coats, I believe. So I'm going to start with this guy and hope his second coat is dry by the time I'm ready to do a third here. If not, we'll just have to wait an extra minute. All right, there's the second coat on my yellow, my hello, my vanilla ice cream. It's a really pale yellow. It definitely needs a third coat, so we're just gonna set it aside for a second. And then we're gonna come over to our scallop border here, and we're gonna put a second coat on our scallop border. Now this will not need a third coat, so 2 coats will be good for this guy. right? And we're gonna put that aside to dry. And then we're gonna bring this guy back and we're gonna go ahead and get our third coat put on this. All right, 3 coats is gonna do great for this. All right, that's our third coat on our Hello. And we're gonna set everything aside that we painted and just let that dry. Let all those pieces dry all the way. All right, while we wait for those to dry, we are going to start our felt flowers. Make sure that your space with your paint is all dry and that your hands are clean. So take the time to clean up your space and get your hands free of paint here, or at least make sure the paint on your hands are dry. I feel like I always have paint on my hands no matter what. Sometimes I watch tutorial videos that I've recorded and I'm just like, oh my goodness, your hands are terrible. But then I guess I did wash my hands before I started and they're still full of paint anyway, so. Okay. I tend to move through felt flowers pretty quickly because I do them so often. So I'm going to turn my hot glue gun on and get it started. And now you'll want your pattern sheet. And you can, now if you don't like the felt flowers that I'm going to show you in this video, which you can already tell what they're going to be by looking at the picture of the completed project. If you want to do a different felt flower, we have several videos on our YouTube channel that you can look at. And we also have, Pinterest or Google. There's all kinds of felt flowers that are available. Instructions, sorry. There's all kinds of instructions available. One thing I didn't say, because I probably won't use it, but is a pencil or a marker to trace on your felt from the patterns. I tend to just lay my pattern on top of my felt and then cut around it. I'm gonna just kind of cut these patterns out real quick here. Now you don't have to use these. You can use anything round that you have handy. If you have a small cup, you can trace around the mouth of that cup, or I don't know, a round spice jar or something like that. You can use any of those. I also will end up drawing, you can see mine is just inked. Your instructions will have a drawn one on as well. I gave you a leaf pattern. I don't even use a pattern when I cut my leaves, but I know a lot of you struggle with that. So I want to make sure that I have that. And then this is a petal that we're going to be using for a flower. So you'll want to cut that out as well. Now this one is just a strip, and I mostly included this so you knew the length and the width, so you didn't have to measure it. But once again, I will just use, I will just eyeball that. So I'll walk you through that as we get going on that. And then we'll use that petal one shortly here. Let's do a couple of the other ones first. All right, so I'm going to first take my pink. I've already decided what flowers I'm going to make and what colors I'm going to make them. And so I want to do, I don't know what it's called. I just call it a puffy round flower. And I know that I need 7 of these circles. So I'm just gonna take and I'm gonna fold my felt and try to get as many cut at once as possible. Might have to squeeze it in here a little bit, so. All right, so I'm gonna fold it this way. I'm gonna fold it this way in half and then fold it again. And that's perfect. Okay, so I'm taking my piece of felt, I'm folding it in half, and then I'm folding it in half again. So I've got 4 layers, and I'm gonna cut 4 layers at a time, and I'm gonna do this twice. I try to conserve as much of the felt as I can, because sometimes I want to put felt in the centers of other flowers. So I would want a different color. So you can see I'm just holding the pattern on top of my felt, and then I'm just kind of cutting around that pattern. And then just trim it up if you need to. I went a little wide. Okay, so there's 4 and I need 7. So I'm gonna fold that again. Let's see, we'll do 8. And then I'll unfold it because I only need 7, so I'm only gonna cut 7. Once again, lay it on there. And this time I'm only cutting through 3 layers. And I'm not gonna throw away that pink just yet because I wanna use some of that pink for a center of another flower. All right. Now I'm also going to take my moss green here. I'm going to fold that in half, and I'm going to work right alongside the edge here. I just want a couple of leaves, so I'm going to take, and you can use your pattern if you want to, but I'm just going to come out, kind of do a little half circle there, not all the way, and then another little half circle. And that's gonna give us 2 leaves. So that's all we'll start with right now, are the 2 leaves. All right, so for this first petal, or this first flower, the puffy round, I'll put 1 felt circle down on the table, and then I'm gonna take the other one, I'm gonna take 1, and I'm gonna fold it in half 4 times. And then I'm gonna put a dot of glue. And then I'm just gonna hold that in place for a second. I'm gonna work on the other ones at the same time. I'm gonna take another one, fold it in half. I'm still holding that one down. If you have to wait, just wait. And I'm building a pie right now. Again, fold it in half. You could fold these in 3s as well if you want your flower to be even puffier. All right, so now I'm going to take another one, and I'm going to stick it right in here. And then I'm going to do 1 more, the last one you have here. And I'm going to push that one right in there. And then I'm going to wait for it all to dry. And this is what that one looks like. So cute. All right, so now let's take our leaf, and we're just going to put a little dot of glue right there. And glue is hot, hot, hot. So when you're trying to pinch it with your fingers, make sure that you don't get that on your fingers. Now I'm just folding those ends up, and then I'm gonna just kind of flatten it down so it looks like that. Let me lower this camera down now that we're not painting. You guys can get closer. Okay. Sorry about that. All right, so now I'm gonna take and I'm just going to put another dot of glue on here, and I'm going to set this flower right on top of that leaf. Just like that. Now we might end up putting some more leaves in there, who knows, but for right now that's good enough. All right, so we've got that flower done. Now we've got a little bit of this pink left over, and we're gonna save it because like I said, we're gonna use that for a center. All right, so now the next thing we're gonna do is we're going to make a flower with this. And this is where you would use your, this is the mint colored. And this is where you would use this straight pattern if you need it. Really you just need to know, because this is a long width here, and you can use one of those straight edges. You really just need to know how wide to make it. And I have your pattern set at 2 inches. So I'm gonna fold this up to try and make my cutting time a little bit faster. And 2 inches, I'm just gonna eyeball, it's about right there. So I'm just gonna cut that off, and then I'm gonna open that back up, and there's my 2-inch strip. Now I'm gonna take my hot glue gun, I'm gonna run a bead of glue all the way down this length here. And then I'm going to take, and I'm gonna fold this in half so it sticks together and we form like a little tube. Remember, hot glue is hot, watch your fingers. All right, now with my sharp scissors, or if you don't have a pair of these scissors here, then just use your regular scissors, but you'll have to use probably pretty close to the where it connects, where they're connected together. And you're gonna wanna cut all the way up to the glue, but not through. And if you make a mistake and cut through, it's okay, we'll fix it, don't worry. No big deal. I'm gonna end up cutting through on purpose just to show you how you can fix it and that it's not the end of the world. So I'm just making, it's about 3/16. So it's just over 1/8 of an inch, but not quite 1/4 of an inch snips. So that's the width of my cuts. Okay, not quite 1/4 of an inch, but not as small as 1/8 of an inch. And I don't worry about whether or not I am making every single one the same exact width. I'm not going to drive myself that crazy. What I am trying to do is make sure that my cut is straight though. Once again, if you make a mistake and cut through like that, don't worry. I will show you how to fix it. We're just going to keep going and pretend that never happened. We're going to keep cutting these strips. And just cut right up to that glue line. You can make your strips teeny if you want to, but on this one, I'm just making them about that 3/16 of an inch. All right, so start with one of the pieces, or if you got lucky and you didn't cut through, then yeah, that's awesome. We're gonna put a little dot of glue on that end where we folded up to, and we're gonna start a roll, okay? Now, we do not want to continue putting glue on because it will make it too bulky. So just keep rolling it tight without putting any more glue on until you get to the end. And then once you get to the end, then you can put a little dot of glue and secure the end down. Okay, so if you were like me and you cut through, put another little dot of glue. And secure that next piece and just roll it back up all the way around till you run out, and put a dot of glue to finish it off. All right, so here is another one of our flowers, and you can just spread those petals out, and there you go. You got this lovely flower. I just love this guy. He's so cute. All right, so I do have another strip of this, and so I'm going to make another one of those, but this time I'm going to use some of my pink that I had left over, and I'm going to make a center. So I'm going to get a small strip out of this, whatever I can get, by folding it in half and just taking advantage of whatever width I had left over there. It's about 1.25 inches. And then just like we did on the first one, I'm going to run a bead of glue down the edge. And I'm going to fold the ends together. All right. And now with this one, I'm going to do the same thing, except I want these cuts to be really small, so really tight together. So you can see I'm just making teeny tiny little cuts. These are about 1/8 of an inch because this is going to be the center of my flower, so I want it to be really small. Now I don't know yet how long this has to be because I want to eyeball it. So I'm just going to go ahead and make snips through the entire thing, but I might not use it all. Okay, so just like we did with the other one, we're going to put a dot of glue and we're going to roll. All right, so I think, let's see. I'm going to use about 4 inches, okay? About 4 inches. So if that helps you, I'm going to use about 4 inches. And then once I get to that spot, I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off. And then a dot of glue to hold it in place. And that's going to be my center of my next flower. Now I'm going to take the other half of this mint, and once again we're going to make that same flower all over again. But this time we're going to cut the petals very thin, just to give it a little bit different of a look. do it the same way, a dot of glue. And we're gonna start the roll. And then we're gonna take another dot of glue here. We're gonna set our center in, and then we're gonna roll around our center. Now you might have to add another dot of glue there, just to kind of hold your center in place, and then roll it up. That's probably your best bet. Okay, and then dot of glue at the end there, and finish rolling that on up. And there is your next flower. And now you can see what a difference it makes with these wider cuts versus these thinner cuts, and then putting a different color center in there. All right, let's keep moving. Next, we are going to do the teal color here. And we're gonna do the same thing that we just did with our mint fabric or mint felt. We're gonna fold this up and we're gonna cut off about 2 inches. I'm gonna make mine slightly slimmer than 2 inches. And then we're gonna work the same exact way. We're going to run a bead of glue. And fold it in half. And now for this one, we're not going to make straight cuts. This one, we're going to make diagonal cuts. So your first diagonal cut will cut a little triangle off the end. And you want your diagonal cuts to be a little on the slim side. So more like 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so go ahead and cut all the way up to your glue, keeping that diagonal cut. And if you get off a little bit, just redo the diagonal or make it a little steeper. And don't worry, your petals will be okay. Nobody will notice. And then when you get to the very end, once again, you're just going to snip all the way off. So you're removing that end kind of like triangle. All right, so same thing. You're going to add a dot of glue and you're just going to roll. Get to the end, put a dot of glue on the end, finish the roll and secure it. All right, and then here is what cutting a diagonal turns out like. So cute. Oh my God, I love felt flowers. All right, now we are going to use, let's see. We're gonna use this guy here, and we are going to use the big circle pattern. Now you could use anything, a bowl, a cup, or you can use the circle pattern, the paper. It doesn't matter. Whatever you have that can make a circle pattern, about 4 to 5 inches. And then I'm just gonna take my scissor and cut around that outside there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. There's so many different felt flowers that you can make. And I tend to favor some for sure. So those are the ones you'll see me probably use the most often because I just like them. Okay, so now on this one, we're gonna cut a spiral, and you can cut just a straight spiral. It makes kind of like it's like a rolled flower with not a lot of shape to the petal. Or you can cut a diagonal, or not a diagonal, but a swirly kind of. And I'm gonna just kind of come in and cut a swirly spiral. So I just kind of keep moving my scissor back and forth. I'm getting just kind of, it's not, I can't say smooth because it's definitely not smooth, but just a weaving pattern all the way around, if you will. You can just do a straight swirl cut though, or straight spiral cut. I will show you. I think I have enough. I can show you here what it would do. And then when you get to the very inside, just come up and cut it like that, so you have like a center. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take and we're gonna put a little dot of glue on the back side of that very last little bit that you cut there, so the very most center. And we're kind of twisting so it's laying on top of the next section. Okay, just like that. And we just put a dot of glue, and that's all the glue we're going to put on. And now we're just going to start rolling just like we rolled everything else. But this one, as we roll it, we're going to kind of form a flower. Now don't worry that's a little gapy on the bottom, because you're not going to see that. And just keep rolling. And I don't glue to the very end because I want to make sure that it's kind of laying like I want it to lay. I don't want it to wound too tight, but I don't want it wound loosely where it doesn't look good either. So I kind of just roll it and then I have a look at it. Oh yeah, okay. So I tightened up my middle just a little bit just by picking it up and kind of twisting it. All right. Okay, that looks good to me. I'm going to secure the end by putting a little dot of glue on it and then kind of just folding it onto itself. And now this is really loose and it will fall apart. So what I have to do is flip it over, and then I have to just lay some beads of glue on it. And it's going to look messy on the underside, but I don't really care about that because I'm going to end up gluing it all down anyway. And so you'll never even see that. So you kind of just got to lay this one there and let it dry. I'm just going to set it down and let it do its thing. All right, let's see. Let's take this here. We've got enough of this one. All right, so this is my teal, and I'm going to use my small circle on this one. And I'm going to see, I need 5 circles. I can get 5 out of this. So I'm going to do all right. So we need to get 5 circles out of this one, and there's plenty of room. It's going to take a couple of cuts instead of folding it all together. No, I can do that. Okay. So we're going to fold it like in half once, and then we're going to fold it in half again. And we're going to make sure that we're working as close to this, the double edge as we can. And we're going to cut those 4 out of there, and then we're gonna open this up, and we should have enough room to cut a couple more, but we're only gonna need 1 more. So I call this the fortune cookie. The fortune cookie flower. It looks like a fortune cookie to me. It's really just very similar to the pink one we did, except it only gets 4 petals put in the center. And I think it looks like a fortune cookie. Okay, so I've got 4, and now I've got my leftover here, and I just need 1 piece for the base, and we'll be able to get that in there. Now don't worry if it's not quite big enough space. You just need a little base to secure it to. It could even be a different color felt if you don't have enough of this. Like if you cut a little wide or whatever. All right. Okay, so we're going to take 1 petal, and we're going to fold it in half. We're going to fold it in half again. And then we're going to flip it over. So we're pinching it at the top, and then we have the 2, I don't know, legs. Let's just call them legs or folds on the bottom. And we're going to run a little bit of glue onto those legs. I didn't go all the way to the edge. You see that I didn't go all the way to the edge. And then we're just going to stick that down on our base. Push it in. And then we're going to do the same thing with the next one. We're going to fold it in half and fold it in half again. And then we're going to flip it over and put a little dab of glue on both of the legs, and we're going to come in right across from it so they're back to back like that. Now we're going to put 1 on each side. So same thing again. And then I'm going to stick it in there. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. We're going to fold up and fold again, flip it over, and glue on both of those. And then we're going to stick it in that last open spot. And there you have your fortune cookie flower. Looks like a fortune cookie. Okay, so this one's done. And then we have 1 left, and that is the little petal flower. So I want to do the petal flower with I think I might use a blue to make a really small center. But I gotta cut this pattern out. So just cutting this. And you want 4 or 5 of these pieces. I think 4 will be enough, so let's just fold this twice, but only use the width that we need. Is that going to be enough? Yes. Okay, so I've got my felt folded 4 times, and I'm going to cut these petals out. cut this petal out. And I'll probably have to trim this up a little bit once I get it cut out, because it's kind of hard to get it nice when you're cutting 4 at a time. All right, so there's my loose petals. I am going to clean each one of these up a little bit just to get rid of those sharp edges. So that's what one petal looks like. And I'm just going to do the same thing with all of them, just clean them up. It almost looks like a heart. Okay, so I've got 4 of these. So now what we're going to do on this is we're going to take a dot of glue and we're going to put it in the center, and then we're going to fold up and pinch, and then we're going to push down. Now remember that glue might be hot, so don't burn yourselves as you're trying to flatten your petal. But what we're trying to do is just put like a pleat there in the center, okay? So same thing on this one. We're gonna put a dot of glue. We're gonna fold up, and then we're gonna press down. So we're getting that pleat. We're going to do the same thing with this guy. Dot of glue, fold up, and then press down. Sorry, my hands are so painty. They look ridiculous. Fold up, press down. Don't burn yourself. Okay. So we've got our 4 pieces, and that's going to form, let's see, I'm gonna put this here. That's going to form this flower here, but we've got to make a way to secure it, and that's what we're gonna do with the center. We're going to make a small center to glue it all together, to lay on top. Okay. Guess that's not a great contrast, is it? The white on, or the cream on the white. Let's see, for the center, I have a lot of this blue left over, so let's use this sky. And speaking of blue, my glue is all dry, so that's how this guy turned out. And I'll show you something else we're gonna do with that in a minute. All right, so I think for this center, I want it to be very, very small, much like this one, but I don't want to double. So I'm going to just take, and I'm going to cut just a very small strip off of the blue. This is probably less than a ½ an inch wide, and it's probably about 5 inches long. Now I'm going to take my snipper scissors, and I'm going to snip these very, very narrow. This is literally probably less than 1/8 of an inch. I know it is slightly more than a 1/16, but it is very small. So just snip all the way down. Remember, if you cut through, it's okay. We can fix it. I do not know that I'm going to use this whole length. I have to roll it and see what it looks like. All right, so we are gonna just put a tiny little dot of glue to start the roll. And we are going to roll this fine little thing up. And we're going to roll it just until we think that it's big enough for the center of our flower. I gotta look at it. I don't know. I think I'm gonna use the whole thing. Okay, so I'm gonna glue that end. All right, and then there's what that looks like. Okay, so now I'm going to lay these petals all together. All right, can you see what that looks like? I'm gonna put a dot of glue in the center. Now it's a little bit bigger of a dot. It's about the size of a pea, a large pea. And then I'm gonna take this whole center and then I'm gonna set it right on top. And I'm making sure that all of my petals are touching the next one and that the blue felt or the center is sitting right on top in the middle of all of them. And I'm gonna squish that down. Okay, you can see when I picked mine up, one of my petals fell off there. So I just added some glue to the back of it there and put it back on. But that's what that flower looks like. And I like it because it's different. It's different than a lot of the felt flowers we've done before. So, and you can see my edges aren't perfect on it, but that's okay. That's all right. I don't feel like they have to be perfect. Okay, so now I'm done with my felt. If you have more felt left over and you want to make a couple more flowers, you can do that. I'm going to take some of my green here and I'm just going to start cutting out some more petals. And I'm going to cut out petals until I run out of green, which I should be able to get a few more. And they don't have to all be the same size, but you get the general idea of how you do it. You should be able to get at least 6 petals. And this one I'm not going to make as big. I'm going to make this one kind of small. And actually, I think I could probably get 7 out of this. So let's just cut that 7th one. Okay, so there's the rest of my petals. And push those to the side. So again, I'm just going to take and put a dot of glue in there. And I just pinch it. And then flatten it down, almost like the way that we just did the petals on that flower. Pinch and push down. And same thing with all of them. Oh man, hot glue's hot, guys. Okay, here's all of my leaves. All right, sticking to everything. Okay, you're still gonna need your hot glue, so leave that out for a minute. And then I'm gonna move all of my flowers to the side because I don't want to do the finish on them quite yet, because I want to lay them on my board and make sure that I like where they're at and where I put the leaves and all of that. So I'm gonna just get this part finished. So now we're going to use our super glue, and we are going to glue. I should raise the camera back up for you. Hold on. Okay, so we're going to use our super glue, and we are going to glue the scallop border on, and we're going to line up those holes in that top edge, and then we're going to apply pressure. Remember, pressure activates super glue. It only takes a few seconds. And I'm going to turn it. And our hello, now initially my thought was the hello would be on a bit of an angle. And then the flowers would come in here. Before I glue that down though, I'm going to set my flowers in here and see where I like them and how I want to position it before I commit to putting that hello anywhere. I might not even need all these flowers, but oh, they're so cute. Oh, I definitely want that. Maybe we'll do that. Can you see? Yes, okay. Oh, I just love felt flowers. Okay, so I am going to, oh, these are so cute. I'm gonna move this down just a little bit, and I'm gonna separate these two because they're too close together. So let's do this. There we go, that's better. Okay, let's get these now repositioned. Oh, yes. Okay. So that's kind of the position I want my flowers in. And originally I had thought that I would do this hello on an angle, but I actually prefer it kind of just straight across right there. So I'm going to leave that like that. And I'm going to set some of these leaves underneath my flowers where I want them to go. Just like that. I think we'll tuck that down there. And that like that. All right. I think that is fantastic. I know you can't see it's off the screen a little bit, but I do have a leaf down here. I will, let me see if I can slide that up. Okay, that should be in your angle even after YouTube cuts off some of my video there. You should still be able to see that. Okay, I'm gonna glue these on with hot glue. So I'm just gonna come over here and I'm gonna take off one, and I'm gonna put some glue on it and push it back down. And then I will work one at a time to try to keep them in that same position and get the leaf in there as well. So just pick up, glue down, clean up all your little spider webbies of your hot glue strands. You don't want those around because that makes your glue look sloppy. All right, I'm gonna pull this guy out so I can get the leaves glued down. I'm gonna pull this guy out so I can glue that leaf down as well. All right, now this guy goes back in here and this one goes there. I got a bum glue stick. I gotta cut the end off of it. It won't slide through my gun. There we go. All right. Okay, so now this one, we're gonna glue right in there. Oh, that's better. We're gonna glue that guy right in there. Alright, and then I had already glued this petal on when I was showing you guys how to do this. So that one already has a petal stuck to it, a leaf. We're gonna glue that back down. And then we're gonna pick this guy up and we're gonna glue the leaves down. And then we're gonna glue the flower down. Alright. Huh. So cute. Okay. Now, you had a couple of buttons if you wanted to use them. If you have like little pearls or beads, you can use those as well. And you don't have to use anything at all. But like this flower right here, it's mostly this one. These are all nice and full and puffy. But this one's more of a flat flower and it tends to look really nice with a button in the middle. So I'm going to just glue a little, oh, this is like a white color button. I'm just going to glue a little white button in the middle, but a pearl looks really pretty as well. So you could glue a pearl in there if you have them. And then we have to, oh, this is so cute. And then we have to glue the hello on. So we're going to use super glue for that. And then all right. And then we have to put our jute hanger on. So for this guy, I am going to do my jute hanger a little bit differently. I'm going to pull the ends of the jute through from the back to the front. on each side. Just like that. Decide how long you want this hanger to be. And then take each end, and I'm going to make a knot in it at the front of the scallop border. And then I'm just gonna trim that off. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. I'm just gonna make a knot right up to the border. And I'm gonna trim the extra off. Just like that. And then we did give you ribbon, so let's make that bow real quick. And you will need, okay, so you're going to take your scissors. Well, first take all 3 pieces of your ribbon and pile them on top of each other. And then fold it up like a taco. Cut from the folded edge up and out to the corners, and do the same thing on the other side. All 3 pieces folded together up like a taco, folded edge up and out, and then it leaves you with that little dovetail look. I'm just going to make a X and then make the other one go straight through. I'm going to take my I'm going to take my longer zip tie, and I'm going to wrap it around all 3 of those pieces. I'm going to cinch it down most of the way, and then I'm going to make sure that everything looks nice and even on the front, and I'm going to zip it down a little bit tighter, and then I'm going to slide this zip tie through that other zip tie, and then I'm going to cinch that big zip tie back down the rest of the way around that small zip tie I just put in there. And then I've got this small zip tie, and I'm going to take and I'm going to wrap it around the jute portion of my hanger on one side, and I'm choosing the side that does not have the flowers on it. Just cinch that zip tie down. And then just trim the excess off of that zip tie. And of course, it's hard to show you flat, but you'll see it in the opening, what the sign ends up turning out like and how it looks hanging up. And there you have your finished little felt flower hello pennant. And I love felt flowers. If you guys didn't get it, I love felt flowers. All right. I hope you had as much fun as I did making this felt flower hello pennant. I will see you guys again next month. Thank you.